Thanks everyone for tuning in as we continue our Day 3 showcase of BB Distribution here on CMA Industry Week. I don't know, I always get a little bit giddy when it comes to talking about pure car audio, and this particular brand has a rich pedigree in pro, competition audio, but has recently really found its place in the Harley Davidson motorcycle world of things. But we're gonna learn a little bit more. Let's get Justin on. Justin, SounDigital. Did I say that right? Because I feel like that's exactly what's going on with this brand.
SounDigital. Totally. Right. Really, really cool, really unique brand. Size doesn't matter when it comes to these amps. They're a huge amount of power and a really small footprint. That makes them super usable and useful in all sorts of applications, not just Harley, like you mentioned, but, classic cars. Even just the ability to tuck a 400, 800 RMS amp under a dash is awesome. And there's kind of a lot of cool things about SounDigital that distinguish themselves a little bit that, were even new to me until I got a chance to meet and hang out with the guys. Everything from the production where they're produced as to why they're produced there as well in Brazil. It's really cool. It's done at their own factory. We stress a lot about when we talk about manufacturing, especially with some of the other brands or the key brands that BB Distribution has. And that all, comes into this full 360-degree circle from everything from production to resale to brand integrity and brand confidence. And, with SounDigital, you can absolutely have that as well. They control every aspect of their build. It's really, really awesome, little big stuff. It's really cool.
Little big stuff. I do like it. Is it badass?
It's badass.
All right. So speaking of badass, we got a badass presenter coming up. Jacob Brown from SounDigital. Why don't we go to the video and maybe we can see if we can get him live afterwards.
For sure.
Thanks, Justin, for that. Jacob here with SounDigital USA, coming live to talk to you a little bit about, who it is that we are, what we do, why we do it, and a little history about the company, more so than just some of the generics. This company, we've been around quite a while. It started out in 1996 as a college project. So it kind of developed from there. The owner and chief amplifier designer for us started working on amplifiers for his buddies, customers in the competition market, and it spawned really from there. One of the key things to keep in mind about why SounDigital builds the style of amplifier that we do is we have to talk about efficiency. Brazil is not necessarily known for technology when it comes to batteries. So AGM, lithium ion, these are things that are extremely expensive to get into the country. So lead acid batteries are still the dominant battery in vehicles. So we have to look at efficiency. We have to be able to pull as little current as possible. And that's why SounDigital was born. That's why our chief amplifier designer started this whole situation, was to take care of a need in Brazil. Now, that being said, it really started to take off when you were building small, efficient amplifiers. And we really started to see that transition a lot here in the US, predominantly in power sports and motorcycle applications. You look at the fairing of a Harley, you don't have a whole lot of room to fit an amplifier, but with a SounDigital EvoX, it ranges from 5x5, up to about considerably larger, but you can fit it in things like the top of a radio inside of a Harley fairing, or, in a Road Glide, you can fit a couple of them in the side of the fairing, or you look at some of the custom brackets that are built out there, there's guys running 10, 15, 20 channels of amplification all tucked into a fairing. And really that's why it took off in the US. But like I said, the whole company was built out of necessity. Where we are in Brazil is not necessarily associated, kind of with Brazil. We're in the southernmost tip of the country, which is a tech hub. It's not Rio, it's not Sao Paulo, it's not everything you hear about. It's really an industrial portion of the country that is essentially built to cater to what it is that we do. So we have various electronics manufacturers that we work with that are literally right next door to our facility, where all of our R&D, our engineering teams, and our manufacturing teams are housed. So everything is built right there and sourced from right there. And I can't really say that about any other amplifier manufacturer that I am 100% familiar with. So it's really one of those things that we jump out and we do things a lot different than a bunch of other manufacturers, again, out of necessity. And out of necessity has spawned things like the small footprints, the technologies that we've had to develop to make the amplifiers what you guys see and what you guys need as installers, retailers, consumers, everything along those lines. So we look at things like extremely small footprint that coincide with rebuilt PCBs that contain more copper to make them more robust, vibration mounting to make it, again, more robust, input capacitance changes, surface mount devices that are far different than anything we've used in the past. We've listened to installers when they say, hey guys, I need this or I want this. So you see things like, flush mounted pots for gain and crossovers that happen to be a lot more accurate. So really what we look at is not only the things that we want to do, but also the things that we are told, hey, it'd be really cool if you guys could do this. Being the company that we are, we listen and we say, hey, we can make that happen. Let's see what we can do. And because of things like the smaller footprint, better current transfer, and everything along those lines, we had to develop, we had to adapt, we had to make technology that made it possible for us to do these things. So, heat transfer is going to be one of the biggest things. So we've got various forms of heat transfer, whether it's a more efficient heat sink or our dynamic thermal recovery, which is basically device to heat sink transfer. So we've really been able to not only make them smaller, but make them more efficient, make them more powerful, and make them far more stable. So you look at a bunch of other small footprint amplifiers, they might not have room for a fan, they might get hot when you run them. And really what we've had to do is basically make an amplifier that performs the way an amplifier does, the size of a deck of cards. And we've tried our best to make sure that that happens. So we look at the technologies that we've developed and how we've made it possible. And then we look at some of the applications, some of the specific things that we really designed these amplifiers for. I had mentioned motorcycle fairings and the power sports industry, for example. That's the biggest segment we've got here in North America. While we're developing and growing our car audio side, really that motorcycle fairing, that bag, that tour pack build is really where you see SounDigital. That's what we're synonymous with at this point. And not that that's a crazy thing to think about when you look at what it is that segment has been doing and the development of our portion of the industry in that power sports. In addition to our products, it goes hand in hand. The more power that they wanted, the more amps they wanted to be able to fit on a bike, the more channels of amplification and processing that they needed. It made way for our small footprint amplifiers. So we look at things like that and the need and the design, and all of a sudden it brings to market things like our new 400.2 EvoX. This amplifier we announced quite a while ago, but it's something that you're familiar with if you've seen the 400.4. It's the same footprint, it's the same power, but we just allocate power a little bit differently. So this thing's going to give you, 200 by 2 at 2 ohm. It's going to give you like 132 by 2 at 4 ohm. It's going to give you 400 watts bridged at 4 ohm. So it's really an incredible powerhouse in an amplifier that's about 5 by 5 inches. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, you can really put this amplifier just about anywhere. So whether it's motorcycle fairing, which is a big position for it, or even you look at something like a Jeep or another vehicle where you can't afford to lose a lot of real estate, sports cars, anything along those lines. You install a slim double-din unit with a slim double-din mechless unit, for example. You build a nice custom bracket that mounts into the ISO brackets, and now you've got a place to mount this 400.2. So you get that customer that comes in and wants a radio, amp, and sub. You can now do an entire build without losing really any real estate, with the exception of the subwoofer enclosure itself. And that's just one example of what we see this amplifier being used for. That's one thing that we really kind of are pushing for. Same thing happens. You get a vehicle where you want to run a nice, powerful set of front components. You've got stereo power out of this amplifier, again, custom bracket built into the dash or lower center console. And now you're running your components without any additional real estate lost. So it's really a cool amplifier for that. And that thought process, that mindset, goes really all the way through our multi-channel amplifiers. So you look at the 400.2, the 400.4. Take a small step up in size. Now you're looking about the size of an iPhone, a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit larger. You've got the 800.4. Again, we're talking 200 by 4 at 2 ohm, or 400 watt bridged at 4. That's pretty incredible for an amplifier that's really no bigger in footprint than an iPhone Plus or a XR Plus or anything like that. that mindset then again transitions into the 1200.4 and one of my favorite amplifiers, which I've got here, the 2400.4. So this amplifier is one of my favorites coming from a car audio background because it's legitimately 600 watts by 4 at 2 ohms. So what that means is you've got a considerable amount of power on tap to build just about anything you could possibly need with a 4 or 2 channel configuration, or sorry, 4 or 3 channel configuration. So with that, you've got 1200 watts bridge to a sub at 4 or 2 ohms, depending on the model configuration that you order. But you've also got 600 watts of power at 1 ohm or 2 ohms. So, you know, you need some power. You've got a real hungry set of components. Now you've got a 3-channel amplifier that's able to run all of that with singular wiring. You know, you don't have to worry about now running multiple amps, fuse distribution, everything along those lines. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot more simple of an install. And that's really one of the reasons why this is my favorite, you know, with my background. So really the whole thing about what SounDigital is it's an amplifier company that was built on necessity with the installer in mind, with the consumer in mind, and not just, oh, we think this will be cool, we should do it. We've really developed a line of items that you guys can feel comfortable with, that will give you everything you need to be able to do and do it really differently than what you thought you were ever going to want to before. With that being said, I'll pass it back off to Justin, and if anything else pops up, you know, he'll be able to fill you guys in, let you know of a new and cool and exciting gear, and we'll see you later.
There's the overview by Jacob Brown himself.
Yeah. I mean, Jacob's an awesome dude.
Jacob's an awesome. I wonder if he's available.
Let me just text him.
You know, text him, see if he can come on. Hold on, I'll beat you to it. What's going on, Jacob?
Can't hear you.
I'll put your mic on. There you go. Hey, Jacob, what's going on?
Really? You had me muted?
No, well, we always meet when we're in the backstage, but not that we want to meet you by any means. We're here deep into Industry Week. Today's all about BB distribution. Quick fact I want to drop on you guys in the previous session is I was curious as to how many promotions BB has going on. Justin, you didn't know, I found out while we're watching that video. 86 different promotions. I can't even say that with a straight face. 86 different promotions. Check it out. Get to their Facebook group. Lots of promotions going on. Okay, back to SounDigital. Thank you for that, Jacob. Top to bottom, understand where the brand is from, where you're going. Can you enlighten us a little bit more about the amplifiers that we were touching on in that presentation now?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of covered a couple of my favorites. You know, the 400.2 is one of our newest releases in the multi-channel lineup. So, you know, I definitely wanted to bring some attention to that one because, like I talked about, you know, I mean, it's a cool amplifier for what it is. And, you know, I think we skipped a lot of them too. You know, we skipped the 400.4, which is a great little 4-channel that's, you know, again, 5x5.
I'm actually going to give that one away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the codes that you guys see scrolling at the bottom, make sure you log into BB Rewards and you get to check this bad boy out. And we're going to be giving away a 404. Here it is right here. And here's my cell phone.
Oh, my God. It is so small when you see it like that.
That's what
holy smokes. What's the power on that, Jacob?
So that one is 200 watt bridged at 4 ohm. It's 130, something like that.
Is that the same one that was just covered in the presentation? That was the same. That's the same model. Yeah.
No, this is
4x100. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the 4-channel version of it. So it's 4x100 at 4 ohm or at 2 ohm stereo, which is just gobs of power out of something that size.
No kidding. Wow.
Okay. This isn't, you know, the lightning strike factor. That's, you know, 100 watt by 4 at 2 ohm stereo in 4-channel configuration at 12.6 volts measured output. So I mean, it's real deal raw power.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I think my first USB battery pack was bigger than that.
Probably.
That lasted for like half a charge. It wasn't even a full charge. It was like a half charge. Anyhow, Justin, what do dealers need to know from a Canadian standpoint about this brand? You know, we touched on motorsport applications. We touched on Harley Davidson applications. But how have you seen the product perform?
You know, we've sold a ton of these. We got a lot of dealers using them in bikes, and we got a lot of dealers using the bigger ones, 3,000, 5,000, 8,000. and a lot of cool SPL builds with ground zero hydrogen woofers. And it's a perfect pairing. You know, the days of the surfboard amp for that power are gone, and it's the typical reliability. And you know, SounDigital's been fantastic for us. I know Jacob's got some secrets, some cool things coming down the pike for us, which is going to be exciting. I mean, I love the line, dude. I love the line. They make the softest t-shirts ever, honestly. And
t-shirts are badass too, man.
Oh, listen, man, everyone loves swag. Everyone loves gear. If you've been in an install bay, you want gear always. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a really cool, full-featured brand. It's really cool to have a brand that just does amps, and it just does amps like extremely well.
That's their lane.
Yeah, totally. And they know exactly where they fit and exactly where they need to be. And it's cool. I mean, Jacob and I talk quite a bit. And it's nice, you know, if I literally need to know from Jacob, you know, any sort of technical specs, he gets it to me right there. So once again, it comes to that kind of partnership link. You know, it makes my job and my life easy when it's dealing with brands and manufacturers like SounDigital that can provide me the answers to real world questions that my dealers have. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? You know, the first time I had this amp, I was like, wait a minute, something's confusing. There's only 6 terminals for a 4-channel amplifier. Why shouldn't there be 8? You know, so I called Jacob and he immediately told me, he's like, well, Justin, on a Class D amplifier, typically the positive and negatives from the 2 channels are internally bridged and split into the 2 outputs on the outside. Well, they removed 2 of those terminals in order to get this amp as small as possible. Right? But confusing right at the beginning when you're like, what is going on? You know? And
I thought it was because that's how, you know, they build amps on the other side of the hemisphere.
I can't wait to go visit the factory.
I can't wait to go visit the factory either.
No together. All right, Jacob, what's coming? What can we expect from SounDigital coming down the pipe? Is there anything we want to discuss here?
So there are some cool things that we're working on. You know, this is a company that's ever developing, and as you guys saw me ramble on about, we listen. You know, it's one of those things that if the industry states this is something that we want to see from your amplifiers, it's almost guaranteed that we'll at least have some sort of a prototype to figure out if it's going to work. So, you know, a while back, you guys had probably seen our Marine line of amplifiers. So we got a lot of feedback on that. You know, you discontinued the Marine. Is there anything coming down the pipeline? Is there anything that we should pay attention to? And yes, if you've kind of kept an eye on our social media, and I don't know if anybody's talked about it up in your neck of the woods, but we are developing a power sports line specific for amplification. We kind of went a step above. So again, you know, EvoX was revolutionary for us with technologies. We took those, stepped them up even another little bit so that we could IP rate the amplifiers and get Marine ratings, remove fans, seal up the amps, Tiffany style connectors, more efficient heat sinks. I mean, we really stepped up this line of amplifiers to be able to say, hey, you know, we know that they're going to get beat on. We know that they're not going to have the ability to cool themselves via fan. You know, most of these things are getting tucked away in a fairing or a compartment of a boat or something like that. So we really did some cool things in this power sports line that you guys will see some multi-channels, at least one monoblock that's currently going to be available shortly. So there's going to be an 800.1, an 800.4, a 1200.4, and then we are releasing a 2000.4 version of it within that same kind of time frame. And then again, you know, we're always developing lines. So if there's a need for something, then, you know, you can see that pop up as well.
What's the timeline on that, Jake?
We should be seeing production finalized here come April. So depending on the boats, the planes, and everything else, you know, planes, trains, and automobiles, you guys might see it up there shortly thereafter.
2022.
I can only expect this stuff is going to be overbuilt, you know, to handle the extreme conditions that those. I mean, you know, power sports, those amps might be encrusted in mud, and
exactly.
And in the marine side, you know, the mildew and the dew really is the enemy when it comes to marine.
We really stepped up with things, you know, the silicone seals across the boards, across the end plates, everything along those lines, changing terminal styles, changing RCA styles. We really did everything that we possibly could to make this a forgiving amplifier. So, you know, it knows that it might live in an environment where it's going to get splashed, it's going to get muddy. it might get hit with a wet rag wiping down the interior of a side-by-side or something like that. We really took that to heart when we built this series, to be able to say, look, we know what you guys are going to do to it. So we're going to do everything we can to make it survive that.
We got some Canadian dealers that might be looking at this for the first time, discovering SounDigital. What message do you have for them to try it out? Because it's got some pretty good success rates.
You're asking me or you're asking Justin?
I'm asking Jacob. I want to hear Jake, because I'm going to throw this to Justin afterwards.
So really the thing that I like about this, and it's the conversation that I have almost every time, I know for sure that we all talk, it's excitement. This is a line of amplifiers that if you're looking to do something different, if you're looking to do something cool, SounDigital is it. Because it's going to do a lot of things that you need it to, that you didn't think were possible with other brands. You're going to get power that you never thought was feasible in a small amplifier. You saw in the video me holding a 2400.4. We're working on monoblocks that same size. Wow. So imagine 3,000 watts of power in that amplifier that doesn't get hot. It's super reliable. I've been playing with a prototype for a while. I mean, it's gnarly what we do. It's gnarly. It's gnarly. It's exciting. It's fun. Like, that would be my message. If you want to do something cool, give us a shot.
You heard it here first from Jacob from SounDigital. Pretty excited to have you back once those new power sports items come up. And we'd like to discover those. Thanks a lot for taking the time today, Jacob.
Not a problem, man.
Thanks, brother, dude.
Super cool lineup, man. I love when there's a company or brand that does one thing. I don't know what it is about that. It's rare these days. And I'm not talking down to companies that have multiple categories. I just appreciate those that kind of have their lane and they really stick to it. I can see, what the attraction to that would be.
For sure. And you know what I mean? By going onto the rewards, bbrewards.ca, throwing in that code, entering yourself, get a chance to get your hands on this entire amp that I can cover up with my hands. You
can almost do a card trick with it.
Pretty much. It's phenomenal. And like Jacob said, man, it's fun. Like, that's car audio. Like, it's very rare to see brands that are so heavily involved in shows, you know what I mean, all over the United States, all over Europe, everything from SPL.
The lifestyle. They're all about the lifestyle.
Everyone remembers car audio in the late 90s, in North America, and the heyday and like what it was. And it's, in the last, I would say 8 to 10 months, it's bringing that fun back again.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are having fun. People are spending money on this stuff, and people are really enjoying it. So for us with SounDigital, it was almost a no-brainer, and it's we worked hard to acquire this line, and we love the guys that we work with. Jacob out of HKI and SounDigital is just he's so knowledgeable. He's a bit of a propeller head, so him and I can get into some pretty technical conversations about nothing for like 40 minutes.
There you go. Well, listen, if you guys got questions, you know where to call. Check it out, BB Distribution, SounDigital. Thanks a lot, Just.
Thanks, guys.
That wraps it up for this session of SounDigital, a very specialized amplifier, micro amplifier line, might I say, that might impress and surprise and definitely surpass your expectations. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Thanks for joining us as we continue this BB Distribution Showcase on day 3 of CMA Industry Week. Until next time, we connect.